Proto-moto Des, and today I have for us the structure deck Albaz Strike. So brand new structure deck, really good support for Despia and Albaz. One of the decks that I actually been waiting for the most, but there's plenty of good reprints on the back over here. Let me adjust my camera for you guys. It's a bit weird, it's not auto-focusing properly. Or maybe I should move it up quite a bit, because it is. Alright, so yeah, so this deck over here, Strike of Albaz, really good reprints, really good common reprints like Pot of Extravagance and Dark Blue No More. If you haven't picked this deck up, I really highly encourage, because all these cards are technically almost brand new, and all the reprints are still pretty good. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so I bought 3 of these from YGODAILY. I'll leave a link in the description to their website, but let's check it out. Alright, oh, here we go. Playmat. See the artwork. Yeah, the structure deck artwork is not that bad. It's pretty good, I think. Oh, it also gives like a little lore guide on the artwork and whatnot, like that. Pretty cool. And then here's like their combo of like regular structure decks and whatnot, but yeah. I really hope they actually make a playmat for this kind of like stuff over here for the Albaz and whatnot. I think that'd be pretty awesome. But let's get right into the cards. Alright. Alright, so the first holo we have is... Oh, there we go. Konami actually making it easy for opening these cards back down. Hold on one second. First up, we have Tri-Brigade Mercurier. So when your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster that mentions following Albaz material, quick effect, you could discard this card from your hand or face up the field to the graveyard and negate that effect. If this card is banished, you can add one. If this card is banished, you can add from your deck one to your hand one fallen Albaz or one monster that mentions it, except Tri-Brigade Mercurier. Alright. Searchers. Next up is Spriggan's Kit. I want to say Tri-Brigade Kit, but this is Spriggan's Kit. If you have a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Albaz material on your field or graveyard, you special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal special summon, you can add to your hand one branded spell or trap that is banished or in your deck or graveyard. Then you can place one card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. So it's a good cycle out if you have like something that you don't want. Next up is Golden Sword Soul. This card's not that great that I've heard about. It's just kind of like a negate attack. And then if you control like a Fallen Albaz monster, you can special summon it and then destroy that monster. But yeah, it's kind of like a wall. I don't think I'll be playing this inside the deck overall, but we'll see. This is the boss monster, Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. Probably one of the bigger boss monsters of the deck. This is basically a Fallen of Albaz. Ugh. Jeez, that's a mouthful. Plus 1 fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link monster. You control 1 Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon, once per turn. Quick effect, you can only send 1 fusion monster from your extra deck to graveyard that mentions Fallen Albaz as material. Banish 1 monster from the field. Also, this card cannot use this effect next turn. If the fusion summon card is in owner's control of the field by an opponent's card, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls on the end of any of this turn. It's a good board wipe. Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. This is also one of like the cards similar to like the other one. I think the other dragon, the red one. If this card is fusion summon, you can discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. By shuffling materials, mention it into your deck from monsters on the field or graveyard, or face up banished cards. So I guess it's shuffle if you banish some stuff first, which is fine. But moving on, for this turn, this card cannot attack. You also cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters. You can only use effect of once per turn. So I think what you want to do probably is like use the other dragon, the red one, to go into this one over here. If you summon this out, then use this effect to get whatever out into your graveyard, bring it back to your deck. So it's kind of a cycle effect. But next up is Branded Fusion. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material from your extra deck using 2 monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion material. You cannot special summon monsters to the extra deck as fusion monsters the turn you activate this card. You can only activate 1 branded fusion once per turn. Branded Sword. Banish any number of branded spells or traps from your graveyard. Special summon that many Ice Blade tokens. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished monsters that is in Fallen of Albaz or mentions it, add that monster to your hand. You don't use 1 Branded Sword once per turn. And next up, last one is a counter trap. Branded Retribution. When a spell card or monster effect is activated that includes any face-up effect that special summons a monster, return to the extra deck 1 face-up fusion monster control, or 2 fusion monsters in your graveyard that mentions Fallen Albaz's material. And if you do, negate the activation. And if you do that, destroy that card. You banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 branded spell trap in your graveyard, except Branded Retribution, and add it to your hand. You can use the effect of Branded Retribution once per turn. Kind of a mouthful, very hard to pull off, I think. I don't think this is going to be very applicable in the long run. So just run the imperms or run other negates. Alright, so next up we have Fallen of Albaz. This is pretty simple. Basically a super poly for a normal summon or special summon when during the main phase. I'll be on this Shrouded Dragon. Good discard, especially when it's in the graveyard because it's considered as Fallen as Albaz. Dogmatica Fleur de Lis landed as a common. We have Red Eyes Dark, Metal Dragon, good reprint right here. Thunder King, the Lightning Strike Kaiju, good just board wiping. Chaos Dragon Liveneer is a common, really good for extending. Radion, the multidimensional Kaiju, good also for our Kaiju as well, so because you can special summon if you have Kaiju on your opponent's side. Artifact Scythe, really good reprint. Basically, you get Scythe lock your opponent's extra deck by using it with Return to the Front. White Dragon and Wyvern Buster, good extenders. Black Dragon Claw Serpent, good extender. Starly Seyfert, same thing, extenders. I think you have an entire like Dragon Link core as well inside this deck, which is pretty interesting. But you just need the Link Dragon, like Striker Dragon, stuff like that. So Keeper Dragon Magic allows you to get poly to hand. Summoner Monk, Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit as a common. I think this is the only. I think this and Ash Bomb are the only Ghost Girls that are currently common, which is pretty interesting. Effect Veiler, really good. Really recommend picking this deck up if you don't have any of these, because these are just really good for the branded fusion effects. Omni Dragon Brotar, Branded Lost. I think it's a new card actually. The activation of your cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summons a fusion monster cannot be negated. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a monster is fusion summoned this way. If you fusion summon a fusion monster, you can add 1 Fallen Albaz or 1 monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. Okay, so kind of like that spell for, it's like the Magical Meltdown spell, but it's continuous, not that great of a card. Brandon and White, this is a reprint. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand field as material, including a dragon monster. So basically this is like your generic polymerization if you do not choose to run poly. Branded Bond, special summon 1 of your Fallen Albaz as banished in your hand or in graveyard, so it's like extender basically. This card's in your graveyard because it was sent this turn, you can set this to the field. Fusion Gate, banished from your hand, basically fusion. Fusion Recycling Plant allows you to bring back or add a polymerization to your hand by discarding one card. So for example, if you decide to run this, I don't know why, you could discard Despian Comedy and then getting resources that way, but I don't think this is really good. Fusion Substitute, this technically counts as polymerization, so you're technically playing 2 polys in this deck. Gold Sarcophagus for banishing. Pot of Extravagance as a common, one of the better reprints. I think this would probably drive the price down of like everything, or drive the price up of its deck. Could be one or the other. Called by the Grave, really good. One of Dark Will No More, again, really good reprint. Screams of the Branded, this is a reprint from, I believe, Madonna Majesty. If a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, so summon 1 fusion monster that is banished or in your graveyard during the end phase. If this card was sent to the graveyard because it was sent during that turn, or to the effect of the Fallen Albaz's turn, you can set this card. Not that great. I don't think this is good. Judgment of the Branded. Target 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster control. Destroy all monsters your opponent control equal or higher attack than that monster. During the end phase, if the card is in the graveyard because it was sent there to activate this effect. For the Fallen Albaz this turn, you can set this card. Yeah, Necrofusion to banish. Back to the front to bring back your Scythe. Warning point, when a monster is summoned this turn, that face-up cannot attack. If its effects are negated, it cannot be used material for fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link summon. They're going to be 1, just generic, good support. And this is probably one of the better reprints in this deck as well, because it's going to be really super important when you're playing against like Sword Soul, or even just generic like ritual stuff, like pretty much for against Drytron. Waking the Dragon, not bad either. Wouldn't really recommend that because how the chances of your opponent popping back row is kind of limited right now in terms of the meta, because, like I said, they have the Artifact Scythe in the deck, so they're going to be very careful when choosing when to pop back row and when not to. First up, we have Titanclad, the Ash Dragon. So this is a Fallen Albaz, and 1 monster with 2,500 more attack. Gains attack equal to the combined level originals of the monster that is used for fusion summon times 100. After this card is summoned for the rest of its turn, it's unaffected by activated effects of any other monster special summon from the extra deck. During the end phase, if the card is sent to the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or special summon one Dogmatica monster or one Fallen Albaz from your deck. So this brings out the Dogmatica stuff. This brings up your Tri Brigade. This one brings out a Spriggan, because technically you actually could play this. This is usable now, surprisingly. Usable. So you can basically dump it using Mirror Blade and then go into your kit, great gain resources. And this is the Albion, the Branded Dragon. This is the one that you probably will be using to go into the Lubian. Then you go into Mirror Blade if possible, but the last couple of cards are all tokens. So we got Albaz the Shrouded, we have Ecclesia the Exiled, Tri Brigade, Virtuous Vestals, and then Albert the Dogmatic. All these anime soft boy characters. Pretty good, actually, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy these alt art tokens because it's just pretty good, because these can be used for any kind of token, so definitely need them if you don't have tokens already. So yeah, overall, I think this deck is probably one of the best products of early 2022, just because of the amount of decent common reprints as well as new support for Despia and Fallen Albaz. So remember, if you like this video, remember to comment, like, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Alright, so sayonara.